Hello, welcome to episode 24 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and comfy confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I appreciate it and love it. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about the NFL schedule release. A lot of you guys know the schedule came out Wednesday, so this episode's coming out a couple of days later because I wanted to kind of gather some more factoids and information for you guys and deliver a full and extensive report on what my opinion of what the season outlook may be, the hardest games, toughest stretch of games, things of that nature. Getting right into it, we're going to hop right into week one. Week one has a ton of games I thought that were of interest. To note, you have Chiefs versus Bengals, Jets at 49ers, Rams versus Lions, Browns versus Cowboys, and Titans at Bears. Very tough games to start. Rookie quarterbacks, obviously Caleb and we won't count Will Levis as a rookie. He was a rookie last year, but really getting his feet really wet now this year. This will be the continuation of what the groundwork he laid a year ago. Browns versus Cowboys. I think low key is going to be a tentpole game because I think if Dallas loses that game, the wheels may start to fall off quickly. I think if Dallas wins that game, that will give them the boost of confidence that they need. Rams versus Lions. You know, there's history there, obviously, McVay and Goff, and we saw the playoff game and how, great that game was. So interested to see how that matchup goes. Jets and 49ers, let's just say, for lack of better words, somebody at 34 Park Avenue feels like the Jets fucked up last year. And, the opponents that they get right off the back is just like, I don't know. And obviously, Chiefs-Bengals is always a great draw. Burrow versus Mahomes, can't argue with that. Week two, we have Chiefs versus Ravens, Mahomes versus Lamar, rematch of the AFC title game. It's going to be a great game. Falcons and Eagles, which I think will low-key be a great game. Kirk Cousins coming to the link again on a Monday night game with the young guys trying to win. You have Steelers at Broncos. I mean, this is just self-explanatory. The Sean Payton, Russell Wilson dynamic there. That's going to be an interesting game. Week three, you got Saints versus Eagles. You have Packers at Titans, which looks to be a very good one. 49ers at Rams. You also have Ravens versus Cowboys. And you also have Jaguars at Bills. Bills have a very sneaky schedule too, which I'll allude to later. Week four, you have Bills again at Ravens. You have Eagles at Bucks. You have Chiefs versus Chargers. And week five has a very sneaky kind of, menu of games. Packers versus Rams week 5, and then you have Bills and Texans. Very, very, very sneaky how they kind of slid those games in there on week 5. Kind of a quiet week. Week 6, you have Browns at Eagles. You have Cowboys versus Lions and Bills at Jets. As you see, the Bills games is very important early in the year, just as a lot of these games for a lot of teams, obviously, especially the contending teams, will be very important. Week 7, you have Chiefs at 49ers, rematch of the Super Bowl. Week 8, you have Cowboys at 49ers. You also have Ravens versus Browns and Eagles at Bengals, which will be very interesting because that'll be the first time the Eagles have played the Bengals since the Donovan McNabb. I didn't know it was a tie game in Cincinnati, which was one of the worst fucking moments ever as an Eagles fan. I can't believe that game ended in a tie. That shit was just terrible. But anyway, nonetheless, late season games of notice. That's the first 8 weeks games that I thought that were of notice and I thought something you might want to jot down and, and by all means, rewind and play this back, because I think there's going to be a shitload of games the first half of the season that are going to kind of grab our attention and make us kind of plug in and really, really want to hone in and focus. Because I think the Bills play a gauntlet of games. Eagles definitely play some tough games early on. Ravens are in some big games early. Chiefs are in some big games. Bengals, obviously, and the Rams. So, you see these teams, obviously the 49ers, you see these teams littered throughout the first 8 weeks. A lot of big games, a lot of big primetime games. Having said all that, though, getting into the late season dynamic where, the teeth of the season really start to cut in, the 49ers have a gauntlet, week 10 through 18. If you guys get time, look at their schedule. They play a massive amount of playoff teams those last 18 weeks. And those last 8 weeks, excuse me. I don't know who, they pissed off. They have an older team. Not that that's an excuse. This team usually shows up and plays pretty well, but I can expect that they're going to be pretty injured by then. And it's just kind of interesting that the NFL decided to give them that type of gauntlet at the end of the year. Remains to be seen how they stand up to that test and how they, if they can possibly rise above it. But nonetheless, it's a test. Going further, you have the Steelers. The last 8 weeks of the season are going to be hell. I mean, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you better hope that this quarterback situation is kind of ironed out by week 5, week 6, because from then on, it just gets rough. It gets real rough. The Jets, Jets, Jets. A lot of primetime games. 6 games this year on primetime, a bunch of them on the road, but 4 short weeks early in the year to kind of put the crunch on them early. Like I said, somebody don't fucking like the Jets at 34 Park Avenue. I'm just convinced at this point. Starting September 15th, shout out to my mama. It's my mama's birthday. September 15th, after the Monday Night Football game with the 49ers, they will play the Titans on September 15th. September 19th will be a Thursday Night Football game, so literally short week playing the Patriots. Follow that up, there will be a game on September 29th, Broncos at Jets. So again, back to back. Then October 14th, it will be Jets versus Bills. Then you have October 20th. Sunday Night Football, that Jets versus Bills game is a Monday Night Football game. Then October 20th is Sunday Night Football. I mean, it's just, it's insane. I mean, I'm looking at it. Jets and Steelers, October 27th. You got Jets and Patriots, October 31st. October 27th is Jets and Patriots. And then October 31st is Texans at Jets. I mean, that's a daunting ass schedule for a team that is, relying on a 40-year-old quarterback. Offensive line has been injured. Offensive line is a bit older, better possibly, but older than what they were a year ago. And I've read an article earlier where someone in the head office in New York was kind of speaking on the schedule and saying that the Jets kind of owe the league one for what happened last year, which is kind of a crock of shit. I'll be honest with you, it's kind of very unfair. I'm not a Jets fan, but this is a very unfair advantage. You're basically kind of just throwing them out there back to back, knowing that this guy is not, he's coming off a torn Achilles. I don't know. They preach player safety, but yet they'll give you these short weeks back to fucking back like it's nothing. I don't know. Nonetheless, the Saints, week 13, they play up against the Rams, which will be a good conference champion, not conference champion, but conference, interconference game where, they'll have to test their mettle. Also, week 16, they'll play the Packers, and they'll be at Green Bay in that game. So that's going to be another tough one. Dolphins, those Miami Dolphins. Week 13 at Green Bay, week 16 against the Niners, and week 17 at the Browns. Tua is playing for his supper. Now, I'm saying all of this now prior to the season because I do think Tua gets his contract, but boy, oh boy. They underperformed this year. We're having Odell on that roster and, defense possibly taking a step back. Some heads may roll. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets that contract before or after the year because that schedule don't really help his favor. Going into, some news and, questions I had after I kind of overwent the schedule and, things that kind of crossed my mind. I thought about it. Are the Jets going to be able to mitigate this constant travel for an older team with their schedule? Meaning, are they going to be able to really weather the storm? Because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think it's going to be pretty damn daunting for them to win 10 or 11 games. Hell, 9 games. With all the road travel they have. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, yes, they'll be better. They'll be in the playoffs. They'll be contending. The thing, though, and I mean this so hard, and when I say contending, I want to preference my words. I don't mean contending for the Super Bowl. I mean contending to first, second round tops. Again, a lot of road games for a 40-year-old quarterback. A lot of road games for that old offensive line. And this is really a make-or-break year for the Jets. They can't afford disaster. They can't afford to be like, well, let's have a slow start. So very interesting to see how they mitigate that. It's something that's, on my mind. I thought about after looking at the schedule. Also, the Ravens schedule is very interesting. The first 8 weeks, this is literally their schedule. Chiefs, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Bengals, Commanders, Bucks, Browns. So it's going to be very daunting for the Ravens. Not having Mike McDonald there, going to Seattle now as the head coach, having their new defensive coordinator, who Anthony Weaver, I believe, was a very young guy. A lot of show me in that. Ravens going to definitely have to show improve. The Texans stepping with the big dogs now. They have a lot of primetime games this coming year. They have 5, which is great for them, especially after the year they had, especially the way C.J. Stroud played. You knew people were going to see them more. Having said that, they even play on Christmas against the Ravens, so they're going to have to show and prove this year too. I think they have the talent and the resume to do it based off the 1 year of play, but, each year you got to update your resume. So we'll see how the Texans show and prove this year, but definitely going to be seeing them a lot this year. I just spoke briefly on the Dolphins, but I want to touch back up on their schedule too, because again, their schedule is not a cakewalk as most would think. Just the beginning of the year alone, just keep this in mind. They play the Bills twice in 2 weeks. Excuse me, twice in 5 weeks. Week 2 and week 7. So in 5 weeks, they play them twice. Very big, very important games. Kind of weird. I thought they would have stretched one of those games later in the year, but kind of want to get the division games out of the way for the AFC East, I guess, for the Bills and Dolphins, whatever. I kind of briefly touched on this, but can the 49ers stem the tide from weeks 10 through 18? Again, very better situation than the Jets, but very similar in the aspect of older team, has dealt with injuries. Are they going to be able to weather the storm throughout the year? They typically do. They typically have some type of depth, but their depth has taken a hit, especially over these past 2 years. They're playing legitimate teams down the stretch, so they're not going to have a bunch of powder kegs like they did late last year in a couple games where they could just walk in and easily walk out. We know when they play the Ravens, especially on Christmas, they got their ass whipped. So they're going to have to definitely show up and show cause. But week 10 through 18 is definitely going to be a true test for the 49ers this year. You guys have been hearing me reference the Bills' schedule, and rightfully so, because I feel their schedule is littered with landmines. Weeks 1 through 8, they play litany of playoff teams from last year, a lot of division games early, and second half is very much the same. So they kind of gave them a good blend of mixing in the real tough games with some of the games that they expect the Bills to win. And again, that line, expect to win, we have no fucking idea, how things play out right now. The season has to play itself out. Games have to be played. So that being said, landmines are littered throughout the Bills' schedule, and they're going to have to really show and cause and show and prove that they're still legitimate without Stephon Diggs and Mitch Morse and some of the defensive stalwarts that they've lost. And now that we're coming to the end of the show, I definitely wanted to make this huge announcement. If you guys haven't caught a previous episode, I want to announce now that by the end of this month, we will be joining Apple Podcasts. There will be a subscription and a membership that you guys will be seeing there. Also, we'll be joining Spotify as well. I thank you guys so much. Your support and your comments and your views and your likes, all of it has helped push the channel to these heights and these levels. And I plan to take it even higher. I plan to really grow this thing. You'll see more of me, and you'll see more of my guys, and more of the team, and more of the people that make up the Blunt Talk Sports team, podcast team. And I'm just thankful as hell that you guys are giving me the opportunity to sit and talk with you and entertain you and just make me a part of your day. I want to wrap this up by saying God bless. Thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe as always. And nonetheless, take care and enjoy your weekend.